What if your home wasn't just a place to live, but also a power plant? Imagine waking up each day knowing that the roof above you and the walls around you aren't just keeping you comfortable. They're also generating clean energy, reducing emissions, and even feeding electricity back into the grid. That's not science fiction, and it's not some distant future. It's happening right now, and it has been since 2009 in a real house in Sweden called Villa Akarp. Sustainable design has often been framed around the idea of less energy consumption, less waste, less environmental harm. But Villa Akarp flips that narrative. Instead of just using fewer resources, this home produces more energy than it consumes across an entire year. In the world of architecture and housing, that's such a radical shift. It's moving beyond just enough sustainability and into the realm of homes that actively give back. So in this video, I'll break down what exactly makes Villa Akarp so unique. We'll explore what it means for the home to be energy positive and why Villa Akarp stands out as a pioneer in that space. So Villa Akarp might just look like an ordinary two-family home from the outside, but what's happening between its walls is just extraordinary, really. Built in 2009, just outside Malmö in Sweden, who wanted to prove that sustainable housing could be both practical and groundbreaking. The mission was simple yet ambitious, which was to create a home that produced more energy than it consumed, which is what's known as energy positive or a plus energy home. So how does this actually work? Well, over the course of a year, Villa Akarp generates electricity through solar panels mounted on its roof and facade, its walls. These solar panels capture Sweden's abundant summer daylight and store enough energy to carry the house throughout the darker winter months. By carefully balancing generation and consumption, the house achieves a surplus, meaning that it doesn't just meet the needs of the family living inside, but it actually has extra power to give back to the grid. But the design isn't just about slapping solar panels all over the roof. The house was meticulously crafted to minimize energy demand in the first place. Its orientation, its window placements, its insulation levels inside the walls were so optimized that the building naturally stays warm in winter and cool in the summer. That means less reliance on artificial heating and cooling and a much smaller baseline for the energy use. What makes Villa Akarp especially significant is that it proved this concept wasn't just theoretical. At the time, most sustainable housing experiments were focused on net zero designs, which in itself is amazing, but these homes produce as much energy as they use, but no more. Villa Akarp went a big step further, showing that an energy surplus was not just possible, but really achievable in a standard family home. In other words, Villa Akarp wasn't built as a futuristic showcase. It was built as a real home to live in, a functional, comfortable space for everyday life. Yet it quietly at the time demonstrated that homes of the future could be self-sufficient, climate-friendly, and even beneficial to the wider energy system. So let's start where it all began, with a modest-looking home in Sweden that's quietly made history. The real magic of Villa Akarp lies in the combination of two strategies: producing clean energy and reducing need for energy in the first place. It's this balance between smart generation and smart conservation that just allows the home to move beyond self-sufficiency and into surplus. So let's talk about the solar power. The house is covered in photovoltaic panels installed not just on the roof, but actually on some parts of the facade, the external side of the walls. Sweden might not be the first place that comes to mind when you think of solar energy, but thanks to its long daylight hours in the summer, the system is actually able to capture a huge amount of energy during those brighter months. That surplus is stored or fed back into the grid, which is essentially banking the energy for the darker, colder seasons when demand is higher anyway. This seasonal rhythm is critical. The house isn't producing the same amount of energy year round, but over the 12 months, it adds up to more than what the family consumes. But solar power alone wouldn't be enough if the home leaked heat or wasted electricity. And that's where the insulation and airtight construction comes into play. Villa Akarp was built with exceptionally thick walls and high quality insulation, meaning that it requires very little additional heating. Windows are carefully placed to maximise natural daylight while minimising unnecessary heat loss. The ventilation is managed with a heat recovery system that captures warmth from outgoing air and reuses it to preheat the incoming fresh air. Very clever. The result is a home that stays comfortable with minimal energy input. What's so clever here is that by cutting energy demand so much, the solar system doesn't need to be oversized or extravagant. Even a modestly scaled system can consistently generate more energy than the house requires. It's not just about adding random tech, it's about designing the whole building to work almost like an ecosystem, where every component supports the efficiency. This holistic approach demonstrates an important lesson that surplus energy isn't just about having more solar panels or more batteries or anything like that. It's about synergy. The solar production paired with super insulation creates a house that doesn't just balance the books, it tips them in profit. For years, the holy grail of sustainable building design was a net zero home. That means a building produced as much energy as it used, which effectively cancels out its footprint. And while a net zero home is a huge achievement, Villa Akarp shows why just aiming for net positive can be so powerful. It helps if you think of net zero like breaking even. You're not really doing any harm, but you're not really doing any good either. A net positive home, on the other hand, is like turning a profit. It creates a surplus of clean energy that can be shared with others. And in Villa Akarp's case, that means feeding extra electricity back into the Swedish power grid. This shift is crucial when you zoom out to the bigger picture of climate change and urban development. If every building was just net zero, we'd reduce our overall footprint dramatically, but we'd still need other sources of clean energy to replace the fossil fuels currently running our power grid. Net positive buildings take off some of that pressure by becoming producers, not just efficient consumers, which itself is great, but you could argue it's not enough, maybe. Another reason that net positive matters is resilience. As energy prices fluctuate and demand rises, households with energy surplus aren't just less vulnerable, they can actually benefit financially by selling power back to the grid. In the long run, this could make net positive homes not just environmentally attractive, but economically smart. And I personally feel that if you're going to target an individual, that needs to be where you start. You can't expect an individual to make a difference because individually we don't. But as a collective, when lots of people are making this choice, that is where real change can happen. And there's also the psychological shift that net zero is about sufficiency. Net positive is about abundance. It kind of reframes sustainable living from being about sacrifice in some way to being a contributor. Instead of feeling like you're giving things up, you really are part of a system that's giving back to the grid, to the community, and to the planet. Villa Akarp illustrates this perfectly, really. It shows that good enough sustainability doesn't have to be the limit. We can aim higher, and that doing so can redefine what sustainability and sustainable housing means in the 21st century. So what can we take away from Villa Akarp? Well, on the surface, it's a comfortable family home in Sweden. It's nothing flashy, it's nothing futuristic looking, but beneath that familiar exterior is a radical idea, one that needs to be implemented much more today, that buildings don't have to be passive consumers of energy. They can be active participants in the energy system, capable of producing more than they take. It's that shift from net zero to net positive that changes everything, really. It proves that sustainability isn't just about minimizing harm, it's about maximizing good. And if there's one takeaway from this video, please remember that. Sustainability isn't minimizing harm, it's maximizing good. Just imagine if every neighborhood had houses like Villa Akarp, all quietly feeding small amounts of renewable power back into the grid. Cities themselves could become self-sustaining energy ecosystems, not just clusters of consumers relying on far distant power plants. This is real change. And the best part is that none of this requires waiting for some far-off technology. Solar panels, high-performance insulation, airtight construction. These are tools that already exist. They existed in 2009. Think about the improvement in the last 16 plus years. Villa Akarp didn't invent them. It simply combined them intelligently, proving that the future of sustainable housing isn't just possible, it's already here. It's been here. Of course, scaling up this comes with a plethora of challenges. You've got the cost, you've got the accessibility, you've got the local climate variations that all play a role. But the principle still stands out. When we design homes with both efficiency and generation in mind, the potential for positive impact is enormous. For homeowners, it means way more than just lower energy bills, although that is very important. It means the resilience against the rising energy cost. It means independence from fossil fuels. It means you have a chance to be part of a bigger solution. A mass of individuals do create change. For architects and policymakers, it means shifting the target from doing no harm to actively doing good. They need to remember this. Architectural designers, we need to remember this. Villa Akarp reminds us that sustainability doesn't have to be framed as a sacrifice. It can be about abundance, it can be about contribution, it can be about optimism. A house that doesn't just use energy, but reframes what's possible for our homes, for our planet. And that's the real lesson here. Sustainable design isn't just about efficiency, it's about generosity. So I hope you've liked that video. I hope you've got some great takeaways from it. I'd recommend to subscribe to the channel, as right now I'm producing multiple videos a week. I'm doing a video every 2 days for the next couple of weeks. And then from then on, for around a year, I'll be making a video either once or twice a week, while I pay a university to teach me even more about sustainable design. There'll be lots of videos kind of like this. I've started making playlists. Click into those and you'll find similar videos. Thanks for watching.